Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 14. Tortuga Tour. It took 4 more days for the Red Zeppelin to reach Tortuga Island. Rather than land their airship on the island itself, Papa decided to stop early and hover the Zeppelin several miles from the shoreline. Benjamin and Captain Lemon would sail the final distance using a smaller lifeboat. They hoped this would keep the Red Zeppelin far enough away from Fort Jefferson so that its hyperhelium balloon couldn't be shot down with laser fire. The past few days had been busy. Papa Impossible had flown the boat during the day while Benjamin spent his waking hours upgrading the spacesuit's capabilities. During the night, Mama Impossible manned the helm while she watched Captain Lemon and her oldest boy learn to fly their new contraptions. Now, both Benjamin and Lemon sat in the Red Zeppelin's lifeboat, going through last-minute system checks on their spacesuits. They would soon be lowered into the water for the final leg of the voyage. "Remember, Lemonhead," Benjamin said through his helmet speaker, "you activate your suit's functions with voice commands. You don't have to say them loudly, but try to enunciate clearly." "Roger, Roger," the captain replied. "My name is Benjamin, not Roger," Benjamin continued to explain. "Remember, if you can't remember the commands, you can also control many of your suit functions via the joystick in front of you." "What joystick?" the captain asked, looking around. "The joystick inside your helmet, silly. It's right in front of your mouth." "This little knob inside my helmet? I thought this was a microphone. How am I supposed to operate this thing? With my teeth?" "Don't be silly, Captain. You use your tongue, of course. You'll also find a few controller buttons as well. Using those switches, you can operate the heads-up display in your helmet. You can also toggle the communications output through radio silence, suit-to-suit communication, and external microphone." There was a long pause, then the captain answered on the suit-to-suit communicator. "Can you hear me now?" "You know what?" Benjamin said after thinking for a moment. "Don't worry about the joystick. I'm just going to override your communication settings and put you permanently in suit-to-suit mode. That way you won't embarrass yourself by saying something silly to Glockenspiel." "You can do that?" Lemon asked. "Sure. Your suit is slaved to mine, and I can activate some functions remotely. Charlie programmed this as a safety feature for emergencies during spacewalks. If an astronaut loses consciousness, the other suit can monitor vital signs and adjust life support systems as needed." The captain reached over his shoulder and unclasped the object magnetically clipped to his back. It was a giant club, consisting of a long steel handle and a massive round ball on one end. Benjamin had a similar one clamped to his own back. "I understand the necessity, but I'm still not sure about these weapons you made, Benjamin. I have little experience with hand-to-hand combat and have never used a medieval club like this before." "Technically, it's called a mace. Just think of it like a baseball bat," Benjamin explained, "except that your baseball bat contains 100 pounds of fire-hardened steel. I melted down the ship's anchor to make these things, so I know it's good metal. Funny, it doesn't feel that heavy." Captain Lemon tossed the club in the air. The crude weapon drifted slowly back into his gloved fingers. "I was able to lift this thing easily, even before I put the powered suit on. That's because the weapon contains a hollow core that I flooded with hyperhelium to make it feel lighter. Make no mistake, Captain. That club may feel lightweight, but it has a ton of mass behind it. Swing that sucker while wearing your spacesuit, and you could easily break a telephone pole in half." The captain looked at the metal club with renewed respect. "Really? That sounds useful. But Glockenspiel's robots look pretty tough, and they have laser beams. I feel like we're bringing sticks to a gunfight. Why didn't you upgrade my suit with a gun like yours?" Benjamin tapped the projection on his armored forearm. "This isn't a gun, Captain. This is just my gas blaster, but now it's integrated into my armor. I only had one." "Looks like a gun to me." Mama Impossible peered over the edge of the lifeboat. "You boys ready? Do you have everything you'll need?" Benjamin patted the packages in the boat sitting next to him. "We've got Charlie's stroller and the hyperhelium generator. Everything is secure." Papa Impossible examined the equipment one last time. "You be careful, Benjamin. I don't want anything happening to you or the captain. That hyperhelium generator is priceless, but I will happily trade it to keep you boys safe. Don't do anything foolish." Benjamin grinned. "Come on, Dad. When have I ever done anything foolish?" Papa shook his head. "Benjamin, I could write a book about the foolish things you've done in your lifetime. In fact, I already have. My therapist thought a journal would make a good stress reliever and help me cope with the challenge of parenting you boys. Benjamin stuck out his tongue, but his dad couldn't see this as Benjamin's face was hidden behind the mirrored helmet. They said their farewells, and the dinghy dropped over the side of the red Zeppelin, falling toward the waves below. The lifeboat had a hard keel floor with inflatable sides. Benjamin had injected hyperhelium into the air bladders to lighten the boat's weight. This allowed the craft to float down to the ocean without hurting the occupants on impact. Once they hit the water, Captain Lemontime reached back and started the small outboard motor. Benjamin thought they made an odd sight. Two figures in spacesuits cruising through the waves toward a Civil War fort filled with robots and their pirate overlord. The boat ride was bumpy as they moved through the choppy ocean. Captain Lemontime wrestled with the boat, trying to keep it from capsizing, and eventually they moved into calmer, shallower waters. Explain to me again why we didn't just fly to Fort Jefferson in our new flying suits? It would have been a lot faster and less vomit-inducing. We need to save batteries, Captain. Our spacesuits need energy to run. The hyperhelium can help us float, but the propulsion jets eat up power, so I thought it best to conserve energy as long as possible. Besides, Glockenspiel may not even know that these suits can fly, and I'd like to keep the surprise as long as possible. Captain Lemontime shrugged and adjusted the speed of the boat's throttle. At least it's a nice day for a boat ride. The air temperature is perfect. Benjamin checked the outside temperature on the heads-up display inside his helmet. What are you talking about? It's almost 100 degrees outside. Really? It doesn't feel that hot. You're wearing a spacesuit, dude. In space, the temperature fluctuates greatly. If you were floating in space, the part of your suit lit by the sun would be 500 degrees hotter than the part in the shade. All spacesuits have coolant systems to regulate this temperature differential and to keep the astronauts from roasting inside. Benjamin checked the internal temperature of the captain's suit. Your internal suit temperature is set at 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Do you want it warmer or colder in there? I can adjust the thermostat. The captain shook his head in the negative. No, this is good, I think. Benjamin laughed. Well, we might find out how good the coolant system works when we meet Glockenspiel. His robots have powerful lasers. Your suit isn't likely to melt, but if enough laser beams hit you, it might get really hot in there. Do you like boiled lobster? Captain Lemontime looked at Benjamin. You are terrible at building team morale, you know that? If we were in a military vessel, someone would have thrown you overboard by now. Benjamin laughed. Don't worry, Lemonhead. I don't think Dr. Glockenspiel is going to shoot us with lasers anytime soon. Look what's below us in the water. Benjamin pointed to the ocean. The captain looked over the edge but didn't see anything but green water and sunlight reflecting off the waves. I don't see anything in particular. Benjamin sighed. Cycle through your helmet's vision modes. Try heat vision and infrared. Didn't you read the spacesuit instruction manual I gave you? I would have read the instructions, except the stupid inventor thought it would be funny to write the instruction manual in Klingon. Captain Lemontime experimented with his helmet and eventually turned on its heat detection mode. He looked around in wonder. The world had transformed into a rainbow of blues, reds, and yellows depending upon the temperature of objects around him. Looking down into the water, he saw dark shapes swimming alongside the boat. Hey, sharks! The captain said with surprise. Those aren't just sharks, Lemonhead. Those are sharkpedos. They've been swimming alongside the boat for several minutes now. Dr. Glockensneaky knows we're coming. Oh, said the captain, thinking about this. Well, we weren't trying to sneak in, so I guess that's okay. As they approached the fort, they discovered that Tortuga Island encompassed several smaller islands, with a deep harbor in the middle. A long wooden dock jutted into this harbor from the biggest island that housed Fort Jefferson. They could see two men on the pier waving at them, so they turned their little boat in that direction. Looks like we are expected, the captain muttered as he slowed the boat down and turned toward the men. Benjamin flipped through the vision scanners in his helmet. Be on your guard, Captain. Those aren't men on that dock. Their thermal signatures are all wrong. They are robots. As they approached the dock, they were able to see the two figures hailing them better. They were indeed robots, and Benjamin could see the reflection of the ocean in their large, robotic eyes. However, they were dressed like men and wore white uniforms and white hats. "What the heck are those robots wearing?" Benjamin asked incredulously. "Those look like old Navy uniforms," Clementine said in wonder. "White, undress uniforms that sailors used to wear during the early days of the Navy." "They look ridiculous," Benjamin commented. "How is Glockenspiel supposed to generate shock and awe if he dresses his robotic minions like Donald Duck?" The robots saluted as the boat bumped up against the wooden dock. The robotic sailors reached down and secured ropes to keep their little ship from floating away. "Welcome to Tortuga Island," one of the robots droned in a monotone voice. "We hope you had a pleasant voyage." "Oh yeah, the voyage was outstanding," Benjamin said through his outboard speaker. "We played with sharks and my little brother got squid-napped." "Can we help you unload any luggage?" the robot asked. Benjamin looked at the robot suspiciously. "I guess you can help us transfer this equipment, but no funny moves or we'll knock your blocks off." The robots bowed, then reached down and lifted the stroller and the hyperhelium generator onto the wooden walkway. The robots then stood at military attention, unmoving. "Okay," Captain Clementine said, waving his hand in front of the robot's unblinking eyes. "These things look creepy." "Yeah, but helpful. If their eyes start to glow red, jump out of the way. Do you want to push one of them into the water?" "Let's not antagonize them yet. Besides, someone is coming." Walking toward them down the wooden walkway, they could see another figure approaching. This newcomer was also a robot. However, it was wearing an old-fashioned suit with white knickers and a powdered wig fastened on top of its metal head. "Okay, I was wrong," Benjamin said in astonishment. "I thought these sailor robots were the goofiest things I'd ever seen, but this guy takes the cake." The newcomer stopped before them and performed an extravagant bow, dropping one foot back and sweeping a clawed metal hand down to the ground before righting itself. "Welcome to Fort Jefferson, the jewel of the Gulf Coast," the fancy robot droned. "The party has just started. Do you require assistance with your bags?" "No, I've got them," Clementine said as he picked up the hyperhelium generator and placed it in the stroller. "Welcome to Fort Jefferson, the jewel of the Gulf Coast. The party has just started. Do you require assistance with your bags?" the robot repeated. "Get a load of this guy," the captain said, pointing his thumb at the robot. "It's repeating itself. Do you think it malfunctioned?" "The robot isn't malfunctioning, it just can't hear you, dummy," Benjamin explained. "Your helmet microphone is set to transmit to me only." "Oh, I forgot." "Welcome to Fort Jefferson, the jewel of the Gulf Coast. The party has just started. Do you require assistance with your bags?" the robot repeated a third time. "No thanks, dude," Benjamin said. "We'll carry our own bags. Why don't we follow you inside?" The robot bowed and turned to lead them toward the fort ahead. "You remember the plan, right?" Benjamin asked over the suit-to-suit channel. "We have a plan?" the captain responded, surprised, as he pushed the stroller ahead of him. "Yes, dummy. The plan is to follow my lead." The captain shook his head. "That's your plan? How long did it take you to come up with that one, Sherlock?" "Look," Benjamin said patiently, "we are going to be meeting with a maniacal genius who is capable of building robots and other weapons of mass destruction. Between the two of us, who fits that description the best?" "Good point," the captain conceded. "I'll just push this stroller and follow your lead, you evil little genius." As they approached the entrance to the fort, the two of them heard music. It sounded like a band was playing inside. They could also hear talking. "That robot wasn't kidding," Captain Clementine commented. "I think there is a party going on inside that fort." Before entering the main gate, they stopped at a modern wooden building. The structure had once been a ticket booth and souvenir shop, but the robots had converted the building into a receiving station. "Would you like to check any coats or luggage here at the coat check room?" the robot asked in its monotone voice. Benjamin looked at Captain Clementine, who held up his hands in mock surrender. "No," Benjamin said. "We aren't wearing any coats. It's freaking hot outside, and we're wearing this refrigerated armor to keep from melting." The robot nodded, but kept talking. "We also have a secure combination safe, in case you would like to store any valuables, weapons, jewels, or other family heirlooms before entering the fort." Benjamin said. "I think I'll hold on to my family jewels for now. Thank you very much." Benjamin looked over at the captain. "Captain, would you like to hand over your family jewels to this friendly robot?" The captain shook his head sadly. Ha ha, you are one funny kid. The robot bowed, then walked to another booth.
Jackets and tie are required. Would you like me to fit you for an appropriate suit jacket?
Benjamin pointed at his spacesuit. I'm already wearing a jacket and tie, he lied. You just can't see it under this spacesuit. The robot bowed, then turned toward Captain Lemontime.
And for the lady,
it droned,
we have all the latest dress styles. Corsets are currently in style, and we have a private fitting room with a seamstress if you would like to try something on.
Now it was Benjamin's turn to laugh. Don't worry, robot. Madam Lemon here is wearing a dress underneath her spacesuit as well. The dress is appropriate for the occasion and very, very pretty. Hardy har har, the captain growled. Benjamin laughed again. You just keep pushing that baby carriage, Miss Lemon. The robot bowed again.
Very good, madam. If you follow me, I shall introduce you to the major domo.
What's a major domo? The captain asked. I'm not sure, Benjamin answered. I think it's a kung fu master who runs a dojo. As it turned out, the major domo was not a kung fu master, but another robot that blocked them from entering the fort's main gate. This robot was dressed in even more elaborate clothing. It wore a long jacket embroidered with silver and red checkers. On its head sat a powdered wig, but this wig was curly and flowed all the way down to the robot's waist. On top of these curls sat a little hat adorned with an enormous feather. Its face was painted white with a small mole placed on one cheek.
It is a pleasure to meet you. Monsieur is looking well, and Madame is as radiant as the stars in the heavens, the major domo droned.
Despite this robot's fancy outfit and flowery words, it spoke in the same flat voice that the other robots had used. Nice outfit, dork, Benjamin replied in greeting.
May I have your card?
The robot asked politely. Benjamin looked over at Captain Lemontime, who shrugged. Were we supposed to bring a card? The robot explained.
I need your calling card so that I can announce you at the party. Etiquette requires a visitation card so that the partygoers will know you by your name and title.
Oh, Benjamin said with a sigh. I don't have my calling card on me. Can't I just tell you my name and title and we can skip the card nonsense? The robot repeated itself.
I need your calling card so that I can announce you at the party. Etiquette requires a visitation card so that the partygoers will know you by your name and title.
Well, it's like this, Benjamin tried again. I left my library card in my ninja suit and Mom took away my Amex after I tried to buy that Lamborghini on eBay.
I need your calling card so that I can announce you at the party. Etiquette requires a visitation card so that the partygoers will know you by your name and title.
Stubborn robot, Captain Lemontime commented. It's repeating itself again. Maybe I should just hit it over the head. Nah, Benjamin answered. It must be programmed to block this gate and not let anybody pass without a card. I've got an idea. Benjamin turned to the robot. Major Domo, do you have a piece of paper and a pen that I might borrow? The robot bowed.
Of course. Guests often have need of such things. Perhaps you would like to write down a short poem or an amusing limerick.
Yeah, that's what I need it for, Benjamin answered. I'm just stuffed with limericks. You're stuffed with something, the captain grumbled. The majordomo robot walked over to a desk and returned with a sheet of paper and a large pen that looked like a feather. You don't have any pens that are hypoallergenic, do you? No? Okay, this will do. Benjamin held the feather pen and scribbled a note on the paper. He handed the pen back to the robot, who received it graciously. Benjamin turned his body in a complete 360-degree turn and held up the paper he had just been writing on. Hey, Majordomo, Benjamin said with feigned excitement, waving the paper in the air. I just found my calling card. Turns out it was hiding in my underwear this whole time.
Excellent, the robot said, taking the paper back from the boy. If you will follow me, the other guests have already arrived.
I can't believe that worked, the captain spluttered. Leave the thinking to the pros, Captain. They all walked into Fort Jefferson's main entrance, a dark tunnel cut right through the battlement wall. The brick stonework underfoot echoed as they walked, and, above them, they could see holes built into the tunnel roof. What are these gaps in the ceiling? Benjamin asked. He turned on his infrared sensors and looked up into the dark space to make sure there weren't any traps above.
Those are called murder holes. They are part of the fort defense. If attackers made it into this entrance tunnel, the defenders could pour boiling oil on them from above.
Gruesome, Benjamin commented. At last, they exited the tunnel and walked into the interior of the fort, which was an open field of grass surrounded by arched walls. The sunlight was dazzling, but as their eyes cleared, they discovered the grassy area before them was full of people. Men wearing black suits and top hats mingled with ladies in enormous flared dresses. A small orchestra played along one wall, and long tables had been set up with dinnerware. The major domo held up a trumpet and blew a short blast that echoed across the assembly. The orchestra paused their music, and the party guests stopped talking and looked their way. The major domo held up Benjamin's note and read it.
Introducing our final guests,
The robot read in a loud voice.
This is Baron von Awesome Sauce. He is the king of all video games and the champion hot dog eater of Franklin County. Accompanying him is Lady Lemon Lime, the Duchess of Flower Haven. She collects unicorns and enjoys belly dancing in her bikini underwear.
The guests clapped politely. Hilarious, Captain Lemontime muttered as the guests returned to their conversation and the music resumed. Benjamin snickered. I thought you'd like that final touch. They walked down the steps into the courtyard assembly, and Benjamin stopped suddenly. Notice anything odd, Captain? Benjamin asked. What? The captain asked sarcastically. You mean like every person at this party is a robot and they're all looking at us with those deadly laser eyes? Oh, never mind then. You already noticed. You've reached the end of Chapter 14. If you are enjoying these robotic shenanigans, please leave a like and comment below. Then continue to Chapter 15, Dinner Party.